But an interesting thing took place. A very interesting thing took place. Nancy Pelosi put a knife in Chuck Schumer. Nancy Pelosi, former dominant mama bear, put a knife in Chuck Schumer. Your question would be, well, why did she put a knife in Chuck Schumer? I'm going to let Nancy tell you why she put a knife in Chuck Schumer. This is hilarious. Democrats are in shambles. They're in complete shambles.
It's about what comes next. I myself don't give away anything for nothing. And I think that's what happened the other day. We could have, in my view, perhaps gotten them to agree to a third way, which was a bipartisan CR for 4 weeks, in which we could have had bipartisan legislation to go forward. It's about what comes next. I myself don't give away.
Mama Bear says she gives away nothing for free. And what Chuck did was effectively give away the House for free. Give away the House for free. He's talking about the continuing resolution that Chuck Schumer kept saying he was willing to shut the government down over, and they capitulated all at once. And she pointed out giving up nothing or getting nothing in return. The question for Pelosi, if she was in Chuck's position, what would she have gotten in return? That's the thing I am super interested in. Chuck Schumer had no cards. And what Chuck Schumer was looking at, and look, this is not me defending Chuck Schumer. I did a video putting a knife in Chuck Schumer over this because it was absurd. They were talking amongst themselves, realizing we can't do this. We can't do this. We can't do this. And he didn't. What he was saying to everyone else was, we're going to shut the government down. We're going to shut the government down. We're going to shut the government down. I would more so take issue with the fact that he was running around telling people he was going to shut it down and dragging them out to the farthest plank, or the farthest part of the plank, only to walk the indignity of walking back down the plank. I would say that was the main issue with all of this. I don't know what Chuck Schumer would have gotten. Chuck Schumer has been going on an apology tour, and what he pointed out was, let's say we shut it down. We're going to get blamed, and we have no way of opening it up. So not only do you shut it down, but you aren't going to get anything while it's shut down, because from a Republican's point of view, American Republicans are going to blame Democrats. Let them figure it out. So Chuck is like, this is a worst case outcome. All of this, honestly, just gets across the shambolic position the Democrats are in, that they have started to eat each other. I've never heard Nancy Pelosi criticize Chuck Schumer, ever. Not saying she didn't in private circles and in whispers, but I've never seen her come out and put a knife in Chuck Schumer as clearly and as defined as she just did in that clip. They are in utter shambles. They don't know what to do. They are looking around trying to figure out, where's the energy, where's the movement, what do we do? And they are bewildered by it all. I've had conversations with liberals, and I remember in one conversation, she told me, if it's between Bernie Sanders and losing, I would lose. Okay, that's the Chris Matthews argument. If it's between Bernie Sanders and Trump, well, maybe Trump should take the party, but should just take it. Okay, fair enough. You got what you want. Now, the catch is, how do you get back? How do you get back into power? Now, Bowman is pointing out all of these consultants are crutches and problems that create adverse consequences or actions in the political spectrum that is not in the best interest of Democrats, and that you need to get those people out for you to have an actual functioning political system. I think Bowman is wrong. I think the issue is that the Democratic Party is a contradiction in terms. In one sense, they want to say, we represent workers, we represent the poor, we represent the middle class. This is what we are. This is what we represent. And yet you're taking money from people that don't want those things and don't represent those things. So how do you, as a political party, function in a political space where you're supposed to be working towards these aims? Because those are the things that you said that you are. But your actual benefactors and funders don't care about those things. How can you be that thing if the people who are paying you don't care about those things? Like, how can I work at Arby's If I want to sell Big Macs and they're selling roast beef or they're selling fish or something else, it doesn't make sense. It's a contradiction in terms. You can't be what you say you are because the people who are paying you are not paying for you to be that. I think that's the issue. Now, that goes into a deeper issue of a political system that runs on cash, where 90% of the races are won by the side with the most cash. And you have a Democratic Party that accepts that cash and claims to be these lefty things that they can never actually fully embody. I'm saying, and none of them are going to agree with me on this, because what they want is to be what they are and to succeed as they are. And I'm saying you've gotten to a point in the political space where that doesn't work. You can't be this liberal, even though I know they think that they're fantastic, and function in this political space. Maybe it's that. Maybe I can't be what I want to be and succeed. Meaning, I guarantee you, on YouTube, I didn't know this, but something like, and correct me if I'm wrong on this factoid, it's like 90% or 95% of the people on YouTube have under 1,000 views or 1,000 subs. I was blown away by that. 1,000, like under, basically 1% has over 1,000 subs. I would guarantee you that there are many people who are hopeful for a YouTube career and doing social media or whatever that is. Maybe it's on Rumble, maybe it's on something else. And they want to do it the way they are, whatever they're doing. Maybe they talk about fish. They love fish. And they want to do a channel on fish. And they want to talk about fish all day. And nobody watches. And they say, why can I succeed talking about fish? I love fish. Fish are fantastic. There's so much information about them that nobody knows. The rub is nobody cares. That channel may not succeed. It may not work under the model that the person wants to make it under. Well, maybe if they talk about killing, maybe that works. Talking about murders, maybe that works. I'm saying that just because you want to be something doesn't mean you succeed at it. And just like liberals who are like, we're fantastic, and they want to succeed in the political space in the way that they are, okay, maybe you are not appetizing to the American public in the way that you are. And maybe there's something else that you may not like, you may be dodgy about, you may have feelings about. But that's where all the energy is. The party is broken. They're bewildered. They're in shambles. And the thing that brings them to the light is the thing that they don't want to touch. And so they don't. And they remain in this fog of their own, amazingness. They're getting it wrong. It is structural in the reason that they're getting it wrong. And they keep getting it wrong. In their minds, we don't have to change. This is when they say, something uses all of its productive energies before it goes belly up, because they have to see every corner to see if they can remain where they are. We're doing everything in our power to remain where we are. We don't want to change. Change has to come, or they die. And I mean politically. Either they change, or they die. There's no other way around it. Trump can go too far. That's true. And he going too far can create a backlash. And in the context of the backlash, Democrats lump in, hey, we don't like it either. Vote us in. We'll fix it. That could happen. But the issue, I think, is more pertinent. And I think it's more persistent. You're getting this back and forth for that very specific reason that I think the issue is more insistent. America is fed up with its political space. And it will go back and forth. It will choose bad actors. It will choose anybody that would shake up the system in a way that they believe, okay, maybe we'll get something out of this. We didn't get anything out of this. Maybe we'll get something out of this. Maybe I have more money in my paycheck. Maybe the economy is going to do better. Maybe. And they get Trump in the same old thing. And so they slosh back to Democrats. Democrats are missing the fact, and maybe they're not missing it at all, that they have a persistent, plaguing issue that they have not been able to resolve, not been able to come to any terms with. And right now, they look like they're in complete chaos. When you get the former leader in the House attacking the current leader in the Senate in regards to Democrats. Something's wrong. Something's wrong. And I see no movements. I see no cohesion to fix it. The only movement that I see is from someone who's not a Democrat. Sanders has been getting campaign style crowds to his events. Look at this. It looks like he's running the campaign. That's astonishing. That's astonishing. I'm fascinated by this. How does Sanders get rallies like this? This was a 15,000 crowd. 15,000 people went out to see Bernie Sanders, who's not running to be in a dog contest, let alone for president. And he is getting 15,000 people coming out to see him on an off election year. Not just an off election year. We just had an election for president, and he's getting election crowds. That is amazing. That is amazing. Now, they don't see that. They don't care about that. It doesn't do anything for them because they hate him. And yet, this is where your energy is. This is where all the power is. Here. Meaning, if you're looking for the fastest thing moving, it's this. But that is the thing they can't say. That is the thing they can't touch. That is the thing they can't bring up. That is where your energy is. And look, this is not me Ryan Sanders on this. I've done plenty of videos pointing out the problems with Sanders and saying the left needs to go beyond Sanders. But if you're a Democrat, and as a Democrat, your objective is to win, which should be your objective. How do you see that and not have a thought in your mind, hey, how's he getting that many people? Why are that many people going to hear an 80-year-old man speak about whatever he's speaking about in a political context, no less? How is he doing this? Why doesn't that cross their minds? And in crossing their minds, saying, okay, maybe we need to be something else. But again, from my view of it, they have a very specific context that they want to remain in. Sanders, let's be honest, calls himself a socialist. He's really a New Deal Democrat. He's a New Deal Democrat. I wish he would just say he's a New Deal Democrat as opposed to calling himself a socialist, because that's what he more is affiliated with. The third way Democrats got rid of the New Deal Democrats, meaning the brand of Democrat that you see in office today are third way Democrats under the Bill Clinton model of Democrats. They chased people like Sanders out of the party. Sanders calls himself an independent, not a Democrat. They chased those people out. And so the idea that somebody like him would get closer power again, off the table, completely off the table for them. So they would prefer to lose because they want to win in their context or not win at all. And it matters more to them to keep somebody like him. Chris Matthews was right. It's better for Sanders to lose now as opposed to take the party for a generation. Okay, Chris, why would he take the party for a generation? Huh? Meaning, what is it in these people that they hold so dear about a brain trust that winning matters less? That is a fascinating question to me. Because if you are Bill Clinton, okay, you're on your way out. You're going to be dying in about 5-10 years. Why does it matter to you to keep out somebody like Sanders as opposed to rando candidate that's going to lose? That's fascinating. I never understood that. But whatever. It is what it is. Bill Clinton, when Tom Perez took it, Bill Clinton told Tom Perez, don't let Sanders take the party. Don't let him do it. Meaning this mattered that much to them to keep Sanders out of the political space. And yet, he is bringing in crowds of 15,000 people. That should pique interest. Women, blacks, whites, gays, Chinese, Asians, rando person. I'm saying he has built a broad coalition of people into the political space. The problem with this is he's going to turn around, take those 15,000 people and say, vote for Pete Buttigieg. That's the issue. That is the issue. Yes, the warmongering stuff is problematic. But beyond all that, the notion that you would take 15,000 people, all these people, revved up, hopped up, ready for Bernie, feeling the burn once again, and tell them, all right, now that I've piqued your interest on all of these lefty policies that you're never going to get from a Democrat, I now need you to vote for this Democrat. That is deeply problematic. That is deeply, deeply problematic. And that is indeed what you will get with Sanders. That is indeed what you will get with Sanders. That is so disappointing. And I know a lot of people have said, well, Sanders should run again. Look at the energy that Sanders is getting. Sanders would be 84, 85 years old. He has ran twice. If Sanders at this point was running, let's say if Sanders was 74, 70, and he decided, okay, I'm going to run for president this year, fair enough. But 84, I don't want to see him die in office. And not just not want to see him die in office, he's ran twice. And he has shown himself to be a certain way in the way to which he runs, especially when he loses, as opposed to being far more aggressive in the way that I think he should be, considering the number of people that he had backing him. What people will say is, well, hey, the next person is AOC. Okay, well, this is AOC. This is her giving her thing. It's not the same. It's not the same. It feels like a parody of Sanders.
I believe that homes are not slot machines for investors. So let me share with you exactly what I mean. Because when they like to call us radical, and what they like to call me as radical, I believe is common sense. I believe that when a person gets sick, they shouldn't go bankrupt in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. Common sense. I believe that a minimum wage should cover the minimum cost to live. Common sense. And by the way, we should see that not paying a living wage is also a form of corporate welfare and looting, because big companies like Walmart and Amazon often rely on the food stamp program and public coffers to cover the wages that they won't pay. I believe that homes are not slot machines for investors and Wall Street to extort working families out of every last dollar that they have. A home is sacred. And when your landlord jacks up your rent by half overnight, or housing prices skyrocket because Wall Street treats our housing market like a casino, your government should fight for your ability to keep an affordable roof over your head. And finally, I believe our elected officials should take on abuses of corporate greed everywhere they find it. We must get big money out of politics and make clear that our country is not for sale. And that is why I don't and never will take money from lobbyists and corporations.
Two things from that. Three things, actually. One, Democrats are probably going to see, let's say the left is going to be looking for something as a rebuilding. There have been a lot of people who say it should be AOC, that should be the face of the Democratic Party, or at the very least, the face of the left on the Democratic Party side. Two, what she's saying is correct in the sense of, this notion of not paying wages and all this other stuff. If you're working your job and you're getting federal services, you can make an argument that that's on some level theft, because the government shouldn't have to pay for the fact that the company doesn't want to pay the person a decent wage. So fair enough, agreed on that front. I don't think she works in the same way. I just don't. I could be wrong. I don't think it works in the same way, because AOC will also go into the trans kids stuff, which will be radioactive, just utterly radioactive. When the right wing says stuff like, oh, we want to run against AOC, they're not talking about this. Meaning they're not talking about speech like this. They're talking about other stuff that she would defend and back that is further on the woke side than they would go and that they use to make hay out of in order to attack her, ignoring these type of policies that would be popular because she's right. They categorize this stuff as being fringe, but they categorize it as being fringe because they want the American people to see it as fringe. So they categorize it as fringe. It's kind of like in Boris Johnson. When Boris Johnson was running against Jeremy Corbyn, or even, the people on his own side, they were trying to make Jeremy Corbyn out to be, oh, this guy is weird. This guy's strange. Why is this guy here? This guy's an anomaly. And then he won. And you can no longer say it because he won. In fact, he had a massive showing of support when he effectively won power in the UK. He didn't win power. He was leader of the opposition. But I'm pointing out that they use a similar tactic of he's fringe, he's strange, he's, on the outs, he's on the outskirts of the political space because they want the American public to see it that way. So they call it that. This is her trying to, refurbish, rehabilitate that image. This is a non-election year. Now, they can make the case of saying, okay, well, we're building up. We're trying to solidify ourselves in that sense. Okay, maybe. The 50,000 that Sanders got is astonishing. Like, okay, that's getting away from the point. One, they want her to be the face of the Democratic Party. Two, on that case, she's absolutely right. Three, I don't think it works. I don't think it works. Now, but I don't know what else they have. It's that. In any rebuilding phase, you're looking for things that you can use to rebuild. And the left is every bit as much in a rebuilding phase as Democrats, because many aspects of the left are connected, attached to what the Democratic Party say they are, and deal with it in those terms, even if they're not a Democrat, and even if they're not associated with the party, just because it's considered the left wing in the United States. I don't know what they are going to do. I don't know how they pull this ship back together into something that works. I am hoping, though, and let me say it this way, and I understand I'm saying this in the middle of Trump destroying the Department of Education, destroying Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. I understand. If Democrats got support and won, nothing changes. And truth be told, you need to be standing in the rubble to figure out, okay, we need to build something that works. This didn't work. I am hoping that something new is generated and formed. I am hoping that something different comes out of this. Right now, I see none of that, but my hope springs eternal. My hope springs eternal. But like I said, I've never seen Nancy Pelosi put a knife in Chuck Schumer. And that act, her saying that, her being willing to do that, shows the level of shambles that the party finds itself in at the